gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Hello, everyone, and welcome on the Etiquette Show on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. This is Ursula for a fabulous edition of the Ottawa Book Expo. And before I introduce you to my guest today, let me share with you some important dates. So mark your calendars and save those dates. Our main event will take place from the 26th to the 28th of August, 2022 at Lansdowne Park at Ottawa, obviously. So today on the Etiquette Show, I have the pleasure to introduce you to my guest, Mr. Jean-François Pinsonneau, who is an organizational development practitioner, a mediator, a consultant, and a coach with over 45 years of experience. Hello, Jean-François. Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Etiquette Show.
Good day, Ursula. Yes, I'm very glad to be here, and I feel honored.
Thank you so much. Welcome, and welcome to all of you who's watching us today. So, Jean-François, before we start and talk about your impressive background and career, let me remind to everyone that if you are an exhibitor, actually you, Jean-François, you are an exhibitor during the Pride weekend in Ottawa. And if you who's watching us want to be an exhibitor too, we invite you and everybody and other authors to visit OttawaBookExpo.ca. And if you like information on how to have a virtual exhibitor booth, please contact us on the website. So we will help you to show your fabulous work, just as Jean-François is doing right now. So Jean-François, you teach courses on conflict resolution, communication, customer service, process improvement, and leadership management skills. You are a specialist in home safety assessment for seniors, right? Certified by AgeSafe Canada. And you give seniors and their families practical advice on home safety. Indeed, you are the author of Aging at Home, Yes You Can, which will be available in French by the end of the year. But for now, it's available in English. Can you tell us more about your book and why did you decide to write about senior safety at home?
Well, thank you. It started a long time ago when I was young and I was ill and my parents took care of me. And as I grew older, I made a decision that if they ever needed me, I would do everything in my power to support them. And that's what happened. In 1982, my mom got, my father passed away in 1980 in his sleep from a heart attack. And my mother in 1982 was extremely ill. And after spending several months in the hospital, her doctors couldn't do anything more. She had to go and recuperate over time. And they wanted to put her in a long-term care. And unfortunately, my siblings were agreeing to this approach, but I was not. And I knew my mother wanted to go back home. So I took charge of everything. I hired a live-in companion who lived with her. And for a 10-year period, I visited my mother every other week and would kind of give some time off to the companion and chat with my mother and find out, some of the things that were going on because I wasn't there during the week. I was only there on weekends. And of course, vacation. I would go my vacation because, she lived on our farmhouse where I was born and raised and everything. So it was a nice place to go on vacation. And a lot of things that I learned was some of the challenges that elderly people face on a day-to-day basis. And so I would listen, ask questions, and then I would fix it. I would remedy it. I would arrange it. I would remove it if it was an obstacle, because I didn't want her to fall. And so I wrote, unfortunately, she passed away in 1996 from a heart stroke. and which was very difficult. But I tried to write a memoir, but it was very painful and emotional for me, and it took a while. I retired from a permanent work at the end of 2011. And then decided that I needed to do something. I had a good friend who had a system called the Passion Test, which she administered to me, and it identified things that I wanted to do. And the thing that came on top was to write a memoir about my journey, my odyssey, my mother. So I did. The book is called Lasting Touch, and it was published in 2017. Fast forward to 2020, we have the pandemic that hits us in early of the year, and like many, I was glued to the news and the TV and to the written reports about casualties and so forth. But one of the things that really made me extremely angry, and it's an unusual thing for me because I'm not an angry person. I never was, but I did. And I was very upset at how governments, provincial, territorial, municipal, were really lackadaisical as to how to deal with the seniors, because a significant portion of victims of COVID-19 were seniors. So I decided, because I had the experience with my mother, then I would write a book. And that sent me on that path.
That's very interesting, and that's incredible that you decided to do this after personal experience that, as you said, was very maybe difficult at that time. So talking about lasting touch, you talk about your experience, what you shared with your mother, and at that moment, and you deal with themes such as communication, tolerance, with love, obviously, because it's family. You took care of your mom, as you said. We talk about independence too, because it's important. Your mother wanted to be at home with you, but at some point, she still wants to have control and authority over her life, which is very important for seniors. So we have to remind this. How was the process of writing this book? Because it is not easy, as I say, it is painful. But how was this process of writing such intimate experience?
Well, I had some experiences, but they were limited, to my mother's environment. And I cared for her for nearly 15 years. The first 10 years was in her own home at the farmhouse. But then one day in between visits, she called me and asked if the offer was still good, because I was regularly offering her to come and live with me. And I said, of course. And then so I was living in the Ottawa region. So I bought a house that was met as much as possible her needs, and then adapted the rest of it to make it comfortable. So she would be as independent as possible. She would have as much control as possible. And communication was the key. What is she saying? What is she not saying? Often, that's a big piece, because seniors sometimes don't necessarily want to bother their children or impose and so forth.
Right.
So with all this, I decided, and it was in June 2020 when I said, okay, get off your butt, and excuse me, but you got to do something.
It's okay.
And so I started researching the best practices worldwide. How do other countries, because Canada's not doing a good job about it, how do other countries do, and what kind of processes and system? And what I discovered in the OECD countries, which are about 30 or 40 countries, many other countries like Sweden, Poland, Denmark, Norway, United Kingdom, Iceland, they have a much higher focus on seniors than we do in Canada. Canada spends about 13% of its health budget on home care and community care. These countries spend upwards of 50%, and with Denmark being the gold standard at 63%. Because it has shown clearly, they started that in 1980, that the seniors are more comfortable, they're in their own home, and they are able to, because many of the chronic diseases that were not thought about in the mid 1950s when our health system was pulled together, it was more around acute situations. But chronic situations were low on the priority list. Today, they're very high. But a lot of the chronic diseases, like diabetes and even dementia and so forth, a lot of it at one point with home care and community care can be dealt with at home, in the home.
So this is very interesting. And can you tell us more about why it will be maybe better for a senior to stay at home and to organize everything so that the senior can stay at home in his environment? Why that?
It's their environment. They can picture and they can see things that they've been there for many years. It could be a house, a condo, an apartment, a cottage, whatever. It can be any type of dwelling where they are comfortable, and it's usually in a neighborhood that they're familiar with. In other words, they're close to the bank, close to the pharmacy, close to the grocery store, hopefully close to some sort of transportation system, so that if they can't drive anymore, they can use a public transit. And often they may even have family members within driving range or close by. So being in their own home makes it easier for them to find comfort. And so, for instance, when my mom moved from the farmhouse to the house that I bought for her near Ottawa, I would say, after it was all done, 90% of the furniture in the home was in her home.
Okay, I
so
see.
When she arrived, I remember she arrived on Halloween night, on the 31st of October in 1992. My sister had picked her up the day before. My sister lives in nearby, and she spent a day and a half with my sister, until I set up all the house and moved everything. And then when she arrived, my mother had tunnel vision in the early days, and she's moving her head because that's how she can make a picture of, and she says, "Why did you bring me back to the farmhouse?" Because it was all her furniture.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Until all of a sudden she says, "Oh, I know it's not. There's a fireplace. Your dad never built me one," which is funny, kind of. So because I purposely made sure there would be a fireplace in the living room, because I remember hearing about it all the time. She would love to have a fireplace. So this is, it makes it more comfortable. Even during the last months, because she was very ill. She had a stroke, and she was put under a medically induced coma. And when she came out, she was paralyzed the entire left side. Mm-hmm. So then I could no longer bring her home. Her leg was, in a kind of a sitting position. Her left arm was behind her back, and she was frozen, and she couldn't even speak French anymore. She could understand English, because we were bilingual. But when I spoke to her in French, she understood, but she responded in English. That lasted a couple of months. And so when I had to move her into a long-term care for the last few months, I found a place that was unfurnished, and I brought her bed, her bedspread, the family pictures, her dresser, her night, the bedspread, curtains, and everything. So even when she arrived there, she says, "Oh, it looks like my old bedroom," and so it makes the familiarity breeds comfort and increases the quality of life.
And who said quality says obviously safety. So it's very obvious now. You're telling us that. What would you say that how the pandemic actually changed the experience or the decisions of seniors being at home versus being in a specialized establishment? How did it impact that much the seniors?
Well, they saw where the deaths occurred. They occurred in long-term care, they occurred in retirement homes, and they occurred in hospitals. And so there was a survey done at the end of 2020, early 2021, before we had access to vaccines, that resulted that 97% of seniors that were surveyed said they would do everything in their power to remain in the home of their choice. And so that's why I decided to do research to find the best practices and then pull it all together into a kind of a resource book, which covers the outside if it's pertinent, but it's always pertinent because there's the entrances to your home. So the walkways, sidewalk, whatever. So that's an important piece. And of course, the major chapter in the book is the interior, room by room, examples and issues. And what I tried to do in my research, I found that there are books on aging in place, but a lot of these books talk about expensive changes. And generally speaking, seniors are not that wealthy. The wealthy ones are not even bothered by anything. They live in all sorts of very high-end situations and can afford all sorts of situations. But the average seniors in Canada cannot. Mm-hmm. And so I focus my attention on identifying issues that could be resolved often at no cost whatsoever. Area rugs are absolutely most dangerous thing possible to have. Oh, they're pretty, but they're slippery. So the best thing is to remove them, but if you intend on keeping them, they need to have a double-sided tape on the perimeter of the rug so that they don't slide. Having a bench or a table or chair on the entrance to the house, so when you come in with parcels or packages, you put the stuff on the table or the chair, then you unlock and then go in. And even the locks should be requiring keys to lock. They should be not like in hotels that when the door closes, it's locked. Because if you go out to get your mail and the door closes and you're in your jammies and you don't have a key and it's in the middle of winter, it's not optimum. And so all these ideas I try to find, even doorways. Often there are people who have mobility devices, and they will find that some doors, older homes, the doors are a bit narrow. Well, often books suggest that to remove the frame and install the bigger frame, a wider frame. Well, I discovered that there is a type of hinge that you can replace, and you can do it yourself because you do one hinge at the time, remove one, put the new one, and they're called pull-away hinges. And it widens the door by approximately 1.5 inches, or about whatever it is in centimeter, I don't remember, but wider. And sometimes that's enough.
It's very interesting and very valuable information. As you said, there are things that doesn't cost anything that we can apply right now and right away. So I would like to emphasize that actually these are very important tips and advices for seniors, but also for families, for everybody actually. So your book, even if it was for seniors at first, everyone can read your book and learn something that will be practical for themselves, whatever the age that they are, because it's important. Basically, we all want to be safe in our environment, right? Yeah. So obviously, we can get your book to learn more and have some practical information to apply right now to have a better and safer environment. But you also carry out a home safety assessment to identify dangerous situations that put, as we said, the health and the safety of seniors at risk, right? And you suggest viable solutions that are very specific to the person's situation, right? Can you tell us how does it work and what should we do to book a consultation with you? Because you are an expert, right? And we want to learn from you. So how does it work? What should we do?
Definitely anyone can go on my website, which is www.jean-françois.pinsonneau. I think they see my name there. There's no hyphen though on the website .com. So Jean-François Pinsonneau, one word, .com. And there's a place there, it says consulting services, and it's fully explained. However, for people who, for a variety of reasons, I do want to say that in the book, because of my expertise as an organizational development practitioner, I developed 9 tools, and one of them is a self-assessment of one's home, room by room, area by area. It's at the end of the book as an appendices, and it has 9 tools that I've developed, 9 tools that are unique, that are would be beneficial and useful to the reader in doing their own determination and their own decision-making process. So yes, they can reach out. Currently, I can do it as far as 100 kilometers from my home office, which includes Ottawa to the west, because I live east of Ottawa. Or even further east, south, or north. Otherwise, I would have to kind of include, especially with the price of gas these days, some gas coverage. But yes, they can certainly go on my website to do that. Or if they prefer, the book is on special this month on my website. And of course, I will have the same special will be available at the Ottawa Book Expo come August.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I would like to ask you a last question. You already shared a lot tips and advices already, so I hope people grab them because that was very valuable. Just before I ask my question, I want to tell people that you share information on your website. You have a blog, you share advices and tips so people can still have information from you on your website. Obviously, the book is the best because it's a lifesaver book, right? What is the most important thing that you learn from your experience? Or maybe like the most dangerous place in the home? Well, we talk about the kitchen and stuff like that, but what did you learn that was very important for you and that you would like to share right now, today, for our auditors that they can apply right now to help the seniors, if they have seniors with them at home?
I think it's the kitchen, because you're there quite often, and there's a tool in the book, but very quickly is identify things that we use on a regular basis, things we use occasionally, and things we don't use, and get rid of the things you don't use. Sell, give away to charitable organization, and sometimes they're so old that they have to be trashed or recycled. And then put all of clean all your cupboards and put everything that is readily and easily accessible to seniors on the shelves and the pantry shelves that they can reach. All the stuff that they use regularly should be there. Stuff that they use occasionally, then it should be higher, because occasionally means when there's family there, and then you can ask a family member to go up. And if you must have a little step ladder to reach for something, please be careful and buy a step ladder that when you open it up, there's a handle that comes up, and you can hold on to the handle even though when you're on the 3rd step. So very important. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, area rugs, things like extension cord, the cord for charging our phones, things that we can trip over very easily. We need to do something and never wait. I've had during other events, I've had seniors tell me, well, I'm not there yet. And they would then say, when should I start? You should have started yesterday. Don't wait. Don't wait till something happens. Once you've had a broken hip, you're now going down a very slippery slope.
Yeah, definitely better do things like to prevent rather than Sure, something that we should have prevented before. So I do agree with that. Thank you so much, Jean-François, for the valuable information. I do appreciate your point of view as an expert because, well, you have the theory, you have the experience. We definitely can listen to you. Again, it's not necessarily for the seniors only, it's for the families. I remember when we spoke someday, well, you told me a mother told you she's buying it for her because she has kids, and the same information will apply for her kids. So everyone, you are all invited to get that book. This book, Aging from Home, yes, we can. You can actually, well, we all can. It's available on Chapters, Indigo, and Amazon Books. For those of you who is watching us today at home, I just want to remind you, if you want to be an exhibitor, contact us at OttawaBookExpo.ca. We are waiting for you. We will be there for you. We are waiting for you from the 26th to the 28th. Come and visit Jean-François. He has a lot to share, obviously, and come visit our other writers and authors. It will be a pleasure. Thank you so much again, Jean-François, for everything. Thank you all for joining us for a fabulous edition of the Ottawa Book Expo on the Etiquette Show, and we'll see you by the end of August. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome on the Etiquette Show on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. This is Ursula, and today I will introduce you to a very talented writer who will be an exhibitor at our show, the Ottawa Book Expo. So before we start, just note the date. The main event will take place from the 26th to the 28th of August 2022 at Lansdowne Park. So we are waiting for you there. And as I said, today I will introduce you. I have the pleasure actually to introduce you to the very creative writer who comes from Montreal, right? And
yep.
Exactly, and who won a poetry award. I have a couple poems published in the American Poetry Anthology under the pseudonym Scotia Davidos while he was attending university in Australia. It's Mr. David Scott Hunter. Hello, David, and thank you for being here with us today. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Ursula, and nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you again. We are very honored. So just before we start, I want to remind our auditors that you are, as I said, an exhibitor during the Pride weekend in Ottawa, right? So yes. We invite everybody and other authors to visit OttawaBookExpo.ca if you, who's watching us today at home, would like more information on how to apply for a virtual exhibitor booth, and just as David, make other readers know about your fabulous work. Now, David, you are the author, and as I say, very creative and very talented, of two wonderful books, Treasure Hunter and Hunters of Terra. So let's talk about Treasure Hunter first. It's the story of one young, incredible, and unique girl. She has a lot of powers, she has a lot of imagination, and her world has no limits. Can you tell us more about the story, please?
Okay, so my books are, in my mind, it's like a universe. It was always something I was dreaming. When I had these characters in my mind, it was like a dream. I could actually see the characters doing things. And so I would wake up in the morning, I would make notes about what the dreams were. And then in 2017, I joined an Ottawa writers group called the Stittsville Creative Writers. And so they helped bring the stories out of the head onto paper. My only bad problem at the time when I was doing that is I'm a little bit old-fashioned, so I was writing everything down with pen and paper. So most people there had their laptops. The problem with that was like 3 years down the road, when they're talking about making it into a book or whatever, I had to go back through boxes and boxes to try to find these notes that I had written down on paper to find these stories that I had written.
That's interesting. I heard that writing on paper with a pencil brings the stories in reality. So, I mean, it's maybe old-fashioned, but it works. So, it's a good thing.
It does for me, man. And since in 2018, I had a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to forget things more. So even now, I write things down to remember. Like some of my stories, I have to remember. Okay, how like Treasure Hunter is about Paige Hunter, and she's starts off in the book an 8-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's, I guess, I used to have to call up my stepsister Sheila and ask her, okay, she's 8-year-old, what grade that would be, because Sheila has 3 daughters. One of them is actually named Paige.
Interesting. So Paige does exist.
Yeah, Paige does exist, but she doesn't have, the real Paige does not have the superpowers that I know of yet.
Exactly, that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And regarding your second book, Hunters of Perath, it's very interesting because the Hunters of Perath are a secret society of magic people. What can you tell us about the story?
The people of Perath, it was all like all my books are part of what I call the Hunterverse. It's all the same universe of characters. So the Hunters of Perath was originally going to be the first book. It's explaining how these are people like in the 1800s, and I started like how people would have been like in the 1800s that long ago, and these are people that were sort of very, very nomadic. They would travel in the groups or whatever, and they were always known for helping other people. They were good with medicines and herbs and stuff like that. Almost like, I mean, like the Roma, like the Roma of history. Very good for that. A lot of clairvoyance and that stuff there, and helping other people, reading fortunes, things like that stuff there. So this is these people, and if they ever settled in one place for long, they would name the village Perath. So that's what they were known as, the people of Perath. So when people started coming from Europe, crossing the Atlantic to come to North America, it's when they started asking for last names for people, like a lot of last names. Like people didn't always have last names.
Right.
They weren't required in the 1700s or whatever. But so when they came across, a lot of people's last names were their jobs. They would ask you what their jobs was. So if your job was a baker, it would put your name as David Baker or whatever. So in the people of Perath, so that they would always know where they came from, they would use Perath as their surname, so they would all know where they came from. But the village of Perath, there was also split, because there was the normal people who still had powers, but there were some people that had special powers. They were hunters, and because in that area there was an evil creature known as, it was the vampire. And they called it vampiro. So part of the villagers were trained how to track down, how to tell who was a vampire, and how to hunt the vampire and stop the vampire from attacking or killing people, whatever. And these vampires could sense magic, because the vampires had abilities too. So they could sense that the people of Perath had magic in their blood. So they would try to capture some of the people of Perath for their food source or whatever.
Very interesting.
So my storyline is trying to tell, like, this is where the people of Perath came from. And then when we go into North America, more in the present time, that's when the other books come out, because the grandmother in this story, Annie Perath, she's the one, and the main kids, like Paige is the granddaughter of Annie Perath, and the new book I'm working on now has another grandson called Tommy, and but Paige is a little luckier. She has a little bit more magic, because her father, David Hunter, is an archaeologist, and he's actually descended from the Hunters of Perath. So he has magic from the Hunters of Perath, and his wife, Kathy Hunter, who had passed away the year before of cancer, she was from the Perath side.
Wow,
so
that's very interesting.
Had both parents that had magic in their bloods.
Wow,
So
it's in the DNA.
That's why she becomes more powerful.
That's very interesting. I love the story. So to know more, we have to buy your book, right? Yeah. I love the story.
Or wait till it becomes a movie and then you can see it on the screen. But it's always good to read first anyways.
It's always good to read it first.
Yeah.
I totally agree, right? And both of your books then deal with magic, powers, fantasy. So why did you choose to write about this genre? What do you like about this genre?
I've always thought of myself as a kid at heart. I mean, every Saturday morning was cartoons. Get up in the morning and watch cartoons. And I've always read vampire books, whatever. I was very lucky in the 80s. I actually met Anne Rice in Toronto, and she was always my favorite author. So it was great to meet her in Toronto in the 80s and get her to sign a book and talk with her over lunch one day at different things.
That's great. So,
I wasn't always a writer. I was actually, when I lived in Toronto, I started out acting and modeling, and I was actually in a movie with Sophia Loren called Mother Courage.
Well, when I said you were talented, here we go, right? You have various talents. I love it. And talking about your main characters, so Paige and the Hunters.
So Paige, she's like, her mother had passed away. She's 8 years old when it starts. So her mother has cancer in the hospital. So her mother passes away. She wants to remember her mother-in-law. Her mother was always big with Paige and something called pay it forward. Pay it forward, how if you have a bit of extra money, instead of just blowing it on candy or blowing it on something, the mother would find somebody who's in need. And one of the little anecdotes in the book, it talks about one time when Paige is, I guess, with her mother in a grocery store. They're going around getting the groceries with the cart, and they see this mother with 3 little kids, and the kids are always like taking things off the shelves and putting them in the cart. And I remember as a kid doing that myself, my mom and all the time, and seeing other kids do that. So then there's the mother saying, no, we can't afford that. Don't do that, whatever there. So the mother would see that. So the mother reached into her purse and she grabbed a $20 bill and she sneakily walked over. And so Paige saw her, slipped the $20 bill in the side of the lady's purse to give her extra money. And when they were at the cash register, Kathy Hunter would have these sticky notes. She would write on it, please use towards somebody in need or whatever need. So she would give this money to the cashier with the sticky note, pay it forward, please use whatever. But now that Paige has these powers, her power is, her father used to take her as an archaeologist. He used to use a metal detector. So he would take Paige with her and use the metal detector, which finds metal things in the ground and beeps. So Paige started off at 5 years old, walking with her father, looking with the metal detector. So she called it a treasure finder. Every time it beeped, it would find treasure. So Paige, her power is with her mind. She focuses, and if there's something under the ground, she hears a beeping in her head. So without having the metal detector, she hears it. And then she gets her little red bucket and her little shovel, and she digs and she finds things. So now she's learning that these things she can find, she finds people that want to buy them so she can sell them. And with the help of her Uncle Colin, who's a financial investor, he's teaching her how. He's helped her set up a bank account and set up the Kathy Hunter Benevolence Fund so she can use the money to help other people. And he's very big on dreaming sky high.
I love it. And that's what's interesting with your characters and also in the Hunters of Perath, because as you said earlier, they have powers, but they use their power to help others. And this is very interesting because, before we used to see people who had powers or magic as something dark, like those who had powers, they were hidden, people were chasing them. But nowadays we see a shift where people who have powers, they are just like in your books, the heroes. We see it in movies, we see it in books. Why do you think there is this shift of mentality, and that people now who have magic are the heroes, and why people are more open to talk about magic?
I don't know. In my mind, magic is a good thing because it brings good. I mean, yeah. I mean, it used to be bad just because it was something scary. Something different was always something scary. So in my book, there are scary people, but because I tend to slip things in very, very subtly. So I mean, in my mind, like because I'm a gay man senior there, I've lived through a lot of stuff. So the bad people in my minds are the ones that are bullies or bigots, or the ones that are homophobic or whatever. Those are the bad ones in my mind. And I'm even surprised nowadays in Canada when I travel. Like I've seen a lot of things. I've seen people that don't believe in gay marriage so fight against it. Like whatever. It's like come on, people. This is the 20th century. There's nothing wrong with it nowadays. Gay marriage, gay adoption, whatever. Everything. It's normal nowadays. There's nothing wrong with. There should be no prejudice, no bigotry anymore. So that's why I try to insinuate that in the books. So that everything's okay.
And how would you say that your perspective, as you say, as well, last time we were talking together, and you said that you identify yourself as Two-Spirit, right? So how would you?
I have a few friends that are Native, and I had one that I had met down in Louisiana, and she's actually she runs a casino there. She's a member of the Choctaw group, Choctaw tribe, and it's called I think it's called Jenna Choctaw, somebody there at the casino that I had met there was talking to me about being two-spirited and it was very very spiritual, and that's the way I think of things. Even though I am Catholic, I was born Catholic, but I think of as a more spiritual side of things.
Interesting. How would you say
believing in a higher powers, which is probably why I like superpowers and things like that too, and
maybe.
And the good things about power, even as Colin in the book says, like Colin tells Paige that if you're dreaming about getting millions to help people, it's better to dream of tens of millions of dollars. It's a dream, so it's better to dream tens of millions than just $1 million.
It's very well said.
Yeah.
How would you say that?
And the thing is, you can do if you're helping other people. Like as they say, they're like if there's a tornado or whatever and a town is destroyed, $1 million would help heal people, whatever there. But tens of $millions would replace homes and cars and businesses and jobs.
Always see more that one, that you can imagine. There's no, as you said, there's no limits, and that's the thing of Paige. Her world has no limits. So imagination is something that you can use, and who can stop you, right?
Exactly, and kids always have the biggest imagination. So that's why, like the books focus on kids and growing in their imaginations.
Awesome. How would you say that your perspective as Two-Spirited influence your writing process for your books? Because you talk about this on your books. So how would you say it influenced your writing process?
I think it gives me more of a perspective, saying like as I said, that like there's no prejudice. That's where all the superpowers and then being nice to everyone comes in. I mean, that's what I think of being as spiritual side of things.
It's well said. And let's go back to Paige. I love her character. You said like she's dealing with a lot of emotion, right? Because she's trying to overcome the loss of her mother. As you said, she was
and
sick.
she's trying to find ways to remember her mother. So her father is helping her with things like when they go around traveling in Cape Cod, the area where they are. And the only reason I had chose that area is I had been there before, and I went on a tour, and there's a lot of sunken pirate ships, and they kept saying they find things on the beaches all the time, and that's why I was thinking about an idea for the book at the time.
Yeah, awesome. You're so creative. I love it. How would you say that, for example, how do you link the fact that Paige is dealing with a lot of emotions? So she has a lot of emotion, and at the same time, her powers are increasing. Her imagination is increasing. How do you link both power of emotion and power of creation?
I don't actually mention it in the book, but you're right. I mean, subtly that's it. Her powers grow as her emotions, as she learns to control her emotions more, she's controlling her powers more. So you're right. Her emotions are linked to her powers, but it's not detailed there, but it's just a subtle thing. A new nuance, so people can think of that when they're doing things. Yeah.
So let's people think about it. We won't spoil, but I find it very interesting, the link between those two, the increasing of power and control and imagination and creation. This is very interesting. And your main characters in both books have a lot of responsibilities because, as we said, they help others. What does inspire you to create your characters and your stories?
As I said before, it's just how I was dreaming at the time, and it's dreams. And it's like I was very lucky that when I had a dream, I would be able to go the next night, and if I would think about where the dream had ended before, I could get back into the same dream. So when I woke up in the morning, I'd make notes, like, okay, so I know where the dream went on, and that type of thing too. So
that's great. So next time I will do that. I will write my dreams too and create a beautiful story.
Actually, in the native, like whatever, they have dream catchers, and dream catcher is supposed to save your good dreams in the dream catcher. And when I was younger, I had a dream catcher hanging over my bed, so that's maybe something that helped.
Definitely, it's very interesting. I love the way how you do links with everything in your reality. And I would like to go back to your meeting, let's say, with the very well-known author Anne Rice. She's very well known for her vampire novels, right? So,
yeah. And Anne Rice too. If you read, like, a lot of her books or whatever, will bring up past stories, like when she did the Witch series and the Ghost series, it brought up some of the same places as Lestat and that stuff too. So that's like a lot of mine. It's like it's her whole world is involved in all of her books. Like if you read even a different, not a vampire one, like she did a werewolf or the witches or whatever. If you read that, it comes up with some of the exact same places.
That's true. What did you learn from her that was very helpful for you in your writing process?
Well, it was the same. Like the whole thing is it's a whole mindset. Like the entire place, it's your own universe. Like when you're building one area, you think of everything. You know the layout of where everything's going to be. Like the cities. Like even now, you go to New Orleans and they have the Anne Rice tour, and it tours where the vampires, where the witches' houses were supposed to be, and all the streets and that. And she uses a lot of real streets like that. Like I'm hoping when I get more into writing, I'll get more of those things as well. Like one of my friends was asking why I use the States all the time when I live in Canada. Well, my new book now has a lot of Nova Scotia in it, and Nova Scotia is where my family came from.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So I know you're writing other books, just as you said. So we are waiting for your next project. For now, we can meet you at the Ottawa Book Expo from the 26th to the 28th of August. So for everyone who's watching us,
I'm actually there on the 27th.
On the 27th. So everyone who's watching us, please come and visit us. Come and meet David Hunter. You will be blown away by his universe. It's so creative, as I said. It's amazing. Again, if you want more information, visit the website OttawaBookExpo.ca, and let's celebrate all together the literary culture. Thank you so much, David, for your time and everything that you shared with us today. Thank you all who was watching us today, and we see you at the Ottawa Book Expo. Thank you for this amazing edition of the Ticket Show.
Thanks, Ursula, and thanks everyone for watching this as well. And yes, anyway, stop by at the Book Expo. Say hello. Buy a book if you book for me if you want. I'll sign it for you, autograph it, whatever.
It will be a pleasure. I suggest you to come and get a book from David Hunter. The universe is just incredible. So, and it will open the imagination, as we said. So definitely it's something to do. So we are waiting for you. Thank you again, David, and we see you soon.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Hey guys, this is Celia with the Etiquette Show, and
I'm Sam. And I'm Sabrina.
And how has Corona affected your love life?
Oh boy. I feel like most of the relationships that I've had have like all been online, and it's no one that's like local.
Yeah.
Like I have this app, and it's kind of like Tinder but for like teenagers, and I've met so many people on there, so I feel like it's kind of helped because like it's easier to connect with people and like you have more time to talk.
Yeah.
But like seeing people in person.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. It's not ideal.
So how do you feel about like if a guy just comes into your inbox and slides through your DMs? Is that a yes or no?
I mean, I think it kind of depends like on the guy.
Yeah.
How he looks and like how he approaches and like what he says.
I'm very like I need to get to know like I've had people who like want a boyfriend. I'm like I don't even know what is your name? Your name's like Fitzgerald. Like I don't know who you are.
Yeah. And so if you were meeting people in real life, Corona was over, how would you go about meeting them?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to college this year, so I feel like that's going to be like a great way to meet people. And then otherwise, it's kind of just like, if I see someone cute at the mall, like I'll go up to them and ask for their Snapchat or their number or whatever. Like, I'm super comfortable with that.
Yeah, she's super confident. I am
Yeah,
not.
I don't care.
How do you do that?
I don't know. You gotta just like make it so you make it. Like I don't really have a lot of self-confidence, but like if you just act like you do, you just gotta go for it.
You know, you said you didn't have self-confidence, but you have enough to believe in yourself to go for it. Yeah, girl. Oh my god.
The worst they can say is no, and I'll never have to see them again. So
That is true.
true.
Right? Unless it's a coworker, but
That's very true.
gotta get them fired.
Tell me about it.
Find a way.
So, what do you think is something people really value right now in their love life? Convenience or real love?
I feel like right now, it depends on the person on like what stage of your life you're in right now, and like what you're really looking for.
I feel like a lot of it that I've seen personally is convenience.
Yeah.
It's because you don't really get to like, I don't know, you don't get that, you're not living in real life, in real time, so you're living in this like, this time, and it's like, people are working from home and things like that, and like, you don't see how it's going to be in the future, so it's like,
I feel like also like our age, it's a lot different. We're still young, so like no one's really looking for anything like I'm gonna get married. So I feel like right now it's hard to like get around to get people.
Yeah. So, if you had an ideal person, what are the top three?
Oh, okay. So we go first.
well, they have to be funny, and they have to be nice. They have to be like caring and sweet. I don't know. It's just be nice, funny. I'm a very simple woman.
For me, you have to have good morals.
Definitely.
Like you have to be able to care for other people, and then funny is also a big thing. And then I know it's gonna sound kind of shallow, but like you have to at least be somewhat attractive. Because like if you think about it, you're not gonna have like a good connection with someone that you're like really repulsed by.
Yeah.
So
What about when we get old and we're all on
but then it'll be different because you'll already have built that
and you're already loving them.
It's like you already have that connection. But like right now, like you're gonna like if you think about it, like if you meet someone and they look kind of like grungy, you're not gonna want to talk to them.
She said grungy.
I think it's like if you
Like me?
yes, grungy. What's the right word for that? Like I don't know, just like
grimy or
grimy.
musty.
No. I think everyone's different. You just have different types, you know?
It's because I feel like when you really love someone for who they are, you see them as like a more attractive person. I don't know. I just
off someone that looks like he's been wearing the same shirt for the past 3 months and he's got like a beard that he doesn't take care of. Like,
I have.
boyfriend.
Oh my god. Well, you know what? I think that looks capture people in the beginning, but I think character is what makes them stay. And I feel like maybe if you're not like everyone's type, I feel like you still have a chance. You just have to find a way to like get to know people first and not like depend on looks. I feel like we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It was a great talk.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
All right, this is the etiquette show. Sorry, I think they make me. Hi guys, this is Studio with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have
Justin.
And Justin, how has Corona impacted your love life?
Well, since I can't really go to too many places, I can't really see anyone, and like there's not so much people because I'm not really from New York. I just visit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't really see anyone. I just go with my friends most times.
Yeah. So how do you feel about like online dating, Tinder, Hinge?
Online dating and stuff. That's not it for me.
Yeah, it's not it.
Because I could just see random people on there.
Yeah,
it's not it. Yeah.
And how did you meet people before everything shut down?
Well, I mean, school, you can meet people all the time. There's like always people, and like there's like parks and stuff you can go to.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can see their face, it's not just masks.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the whole catfish situation where you could talk to someone for an hour and they took off their mask and they might not be your type?
I know. It's just not it. Like the mask, it's just way too
not
hot.
it.
Yeah. The mask gets you too hot, and then it's just like when someone pulls it down, it's just they're not even. They don't look good.
But they're still beautiful on the inside.
Yeah.
And the outside. Just not our personal preference, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think looks really matter, or is it something you could ever look past?
I mean, looks, it does matter, but I mean, personality does too, because someone could be like they can look nice, but like if they're toxic, it's just not good, because they could just be like, they can do a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
They can just turn out bad. Yeah.
Do you think if someone's personality is high enough, it could make you bypass like just your personal taste?
Yeah, because someone could be really nice, and then they might not look the best, but it doesn't matter. They like they know what they're doing.
And what was the best thing about the last person that you dated?
The best thing was that they were loyal.
Yeah.
They didn't cheat on me.
We're really happy for you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. What about the second best thing?
The second best thing, they knew me. They knew like what I liked and stuff.
Well, I hope you find someone exactly like that soon. You know?
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I know. This is awesome. Oh.